Don't ask about the beanie. A new video game came out recently, a Metroidvania, obviously, because those are the only games I ever play. It is called Mio Memories in Orbit. If you've seen any of my previous videos, you know I like making sculptures of characters from video games. And Mio looks like a fun challenge. The design of Mio is awesome. If you don't know, she's a little robot doing things aboard the vessel, a giant spaceship stranded in outer space. But I'm not gonna spoil any more than that, you should just play the game yourself, because I'm just gonna concentrate on sculpting this thing. To start off, I'm gonna do something I've never actually done and make a base to build a sculpture on. All it took was a 2x4 and a drill. But, you know, being the idiot I am, I grabbed a drill bit with the tip broken off, and then proceeded to use it anyway. To make Mio's legs, I stole one of my mom's coat hangers. The wire is very sturdy and will have absolutely no problem holding up the sculpture. Now's as good a time as any to mention how I love UV resin. Right here I'm using it as glue to hold the wire in place, which is not its intended purpose. Whatever the case, I've been using this stuff more and more in my clay projects, this one especially. After playing around with the wire bit, I'd finished the skeleton and I could bulk it up with aluminum foil. As you can see here, I also went ahead and baked a glob of clay around the skeleton's midsection to hold the tangle of wire together. Using pictures on my tablet as reference images, I finally began pasting clay into place. Mio's legs come in 4 segmented parts, so I made the 2 upper segments, baked them, sanded them, and then sculpted the lower segments. Once I had filed and or sanded everything into the correct shape, I began building the body. A lot of this was left up to my imagination because Mio wears a big cloak that hides everything, so I had to imagine what was going on underneath. None of the reference images I went through did a very good job of showing what was underneath her cloak. Oh yeah, and my primary sculpting tool for this build is a toothpick, so I hope you're proud of me. I followed the body sculpting up with an aggressive sanding, and then I used a book to do CPR on a sheet of clay so that I could flatten it out and make Mio's cloak. I wrapped the cloak around Mio in a loving embrace so that I could figure out what to chop off. After this, I put the cloak in its final position and blended it into the body. I used toothpicks to support the cloak as I engraved it with designs using, of course, another toothpick. I cut the middle of the cape out and filled that area with the canonically correct stripes of fabric / clay. To cover up the unsightly area where I'd blended Mio's cloak into her body, I applied the chest and shoulder pieces. Then I attached Mio's collar, which turned out to be a nightmare in the future because I kept breaking it. Now I can make the head. I did this by cramming a giant ball of aluminum into Mio's neck, then wrapping it in a nice layer of clay. That's when I realized working on the head while it was attached to the body was going to be traumatizing, so I snipped it off and set it aside. And yeah, that was the first time I broke the collar, so I had to stop and glue it back in place. Afterward, I gave the cloak some texture by blending wrinkles of clay into it. Addressing the head issue, I turned it into a singular ball of clay, and, once it had been baked, sanded it smooth. Next, I UV resined the neck hole, crammed a wire in place, cured it, and put Mio's head in its proper spot. That's when I realized the cloak collar was too small, so I built it up with more clay. Once that was baked, I marked the part of Mio's head that I would be cutting off, clearing the way for her wire hair thingies. I then performed a very aggressive surgery by boring holes through Mio's brain, cracking her skull apart with wire cutters, and after hacking her head off once again, ripping her insides out. And yeah, that's why I'm not allowed in the ER. Through this time, the head broke a lot. So I spent a good chunk of time fixing it with UV resin before I could actually make the details. The details themselves were simply a bunch of plates that I pasted over her face. But hey, give me some credit. It was a task simply stated, but hard to carry out. The reference images I was using didn't seem to line up, so I had to do a fair amount of guesswork. And remember, my only sculpting tool this entire time is a toothpick. After the detailing though, I was able to reattach the head for what was hopefully the last time. Then I pasted more clay inside the head cavity to reinforce it, did some extra facial carving, and sanded it all down. Respect to my breathing mask. Oh yeah, I did that because I thought it'd be a great idea to make Mio's eye out of UV resin. It turned out to be more of a mid idea, really. I mean, nobody told me using scotch tape to cover the eye cavity would let air bubbles in. Nah, I should know better. But now I can get the hair. And yes, I went out of my way to buy some fancy glowing wire for that purpose. I'm going to let you inside my brain. So Mio has really long, yellow, glowing hair. So I bought these cool glowing wires to go into the wood. There's one wire, and I'm not good at splicing wires or whatnot, and I can't just, like, do this. You get where I'm going with this? Well, anyway, I'm terrible at explaining stuff, so just watch. Is this making any sense? I needed my single wire to look like multiple wires, so I bored holes in my wood and threaded the wire through those holes. That's the basic premise of what's going on here. So anyway, I coiled the remainder of Mio's head into her skull and then absolutely doused it in hot glue. I figured it would do a good job of holding everything together and diffusing the light. But, you know, just a disclaimer, the lights are not very bright, and I only figured this out at nighttime when I was doing the beauty shots. But anyway, when I ran out of hot glue, I touched up the gaps with UV resin. Now, if you've seen any of my latest digital drawing videos, you know I like to finish off strong with a coloring montage. But since this is a sculpture, I instead must initiate the painting montage.